from your weather authority. This is a KNOE 8 News Severe Weather Alert.
Well, good morning, everyone. Chief Meteorologist Marcus Walter here. We're breaking into your regular programming because we now have a tornado warning in the viewing area. So we want you to be aware of this threat. Now, that warning stretches from northeastern Wynn Parish into western portions of Caldwell Parish and southern portions of Ouachita Parish. This warning stays active through 7:45 a.m. and it's because of a storm that is showing signs of rotation. So this is radar indicated when it comes to the threat for severe weather. Now, as we talk about the timing and the track of this storm, we're looking at this storm potentially impacting places like Cypress as we head closer to 7:47 a.m. and then eventually Bosco by 7:54 a.m. if it holds together. But again, if you're in Vixen, if you're closer just north and west of Grayson, you're dealing with this warning now. So we want you to get to your safe area in the most interior part of your home because we have this dangerous storm moving into the region. Now, when we look at where we're seeing the strongest signs of rotation, we see that right now impacting Sykes and just east of Sykes. And we have the reds, we have the greens coming together, and that's usually where we have some type of rotation showing up on the radar. So this is what we're tracking. We just got an updated scan, and it shows potentially a tornado is moving through parts of northern Wynn Parish into southwestern or southeastern portions of Jackson Parish. So if you are in this area, we do want you to take this warning very seriously. We want you to get into your most interior part of your home. Again, very dangerous weather moving across your area now. What we're looking at is the velocity. So we're looking at how fast the winds are moving. And again, we have winds moving to the north and east. At the same time, they're moving back toward the north and west. Where we have that circulation is where we're dealing with the threat for severe weather. So I want to put the track back on the map just to show you that this storm system is moving to the north and east. At last check, it was moving to the north and east at about 40 miles per hour. And if we look at a few locations downstream, if it holds together, we're talking about impacts for northwestern portions of Caldwell Parish, also southern portions of Ouachita Parish. Again, places like Bosco, Cobb, even Monroe need to be on guard for this storm, as if it holds together, it could mean more impacts for central portions of Ouachita Parish. But the threat for severe weather is out there this morning. We've been informing you of the threat of severe weather since yesterday. Fortunately, yesterday in our viewing area, we did not see any severe storms develop. We had a couple of thunderstorms and that's it. But now the ingredients are coming together to bring us severe weather. So I want to take another look at the more or less velocity to see what's happening with this storm system. And again, we're looking at even more circulation showing up just across or right along the border, the southwestern border of Jackson Parish and also northeastern border of Wynn Parish. Again, this is the area with the greatest concern. This is where we're seeing that strong signal for rotation. So if you are in this area, again, if you are east of Jonesboro, well east of Jonesboro, closer to Caldwell Parish, again, we're talking about a dangerous storm that is showing signs of rotation. And so we want you to be aware of this threat. We want you to take it very seriously and know that this dangerous storm is threatening our region. It's showing strong signs of rotation. At last check, it was radar indicated in terms of whether or not we had an actual tornado out there. We haven't had any confirmation of that, but we are seeing a strong signal of rotation here across northeastern portions of Wynn Parish, moving into southeastern portions of Jackson Parish. Again, we'll take a wider view just to show you what's happening with that warning. That warning extends again from Wynn Parish up into southern Ouachita Parish. Outside of that, we have a number of severe thunderstorm warnings across our viewing area. So we are expecting stormy conditions for a large part of the morning, but things do start to improve as we head throughout the afternoon. On our overall view, we're dealing with a tornado watch that stays active at least through 1 p.m. across all of North Louisiana and even across South Arkansas, at this point stretching into Mississippi. Our general threat for severe weather is elevated today. We not only have a slight risk, but we have an enhanced risk, even a moderate risk for severe weather. So the concern for severe weather definitely there. I want to send it over to my colleague, meteorologist Abby Zale, to give us an update on what she's seeing. And Abby, if you can you talk a little bit more about what you're seeing on the velocity or anything else that's going on at the moment in terms of that tornado warning storm?
Okay, well, Marcus, I am noticing that velocity beginning to tighten ever so slightly just to the northeast of Sykes at this time. That continues to track off towards the northeast at about 40 miles per hour. I did notice in our National Weather Service chat that they have been looking at the Fort Polk radar to see some scans from there as well. The velocity on that one is not as impressive. I'll go ahead and turn that over real quick and show you what that's looking at right now. We've got just that little bit of velocity beginning to spin up right there, just closer towards the Louisiana Highway 499, and that's continuing to track off towards the north and the east. I'm going to go ahead and put a tracker on the storm. It's moving off towards the northeast at about 40 miles per hour, so let's go ahead and track that out for you right now. We've got that storm once again moving off towards the north and east at 40 miles per hour. We're talking about places like Hickory Springs Church at 7:43 a.m., 7:55 for Vixen, Mount Zion Church at 8:03, and then in Blankston at 8:15. Now, something else I did want to mention is that there is a fairly strong storm moving closer towards the Ruston area, and that has been producing some larger amounts of hail in that area, and they just confirmed in our National Weather Service chat that that storm did pose about an inch-sized hail in it. So if you are located near the Ruston community, you want to be on the lookout for some larger sized hail within the next few minutes. But I'm going to turn things over to Marcus right now and see what he has to say.
All right, well, let's talk about what's going on. This is a look at the velocity again, and we're taking a look at what's happening with this rotation because, again, we're seeing strong signs of rotation. At last check, we've had gate-to-gate shear show up around 38 miles per hour, but at one point we saw it much stronger. I'm going to actually recheck the scan just to see if more or less I can get a better read on what's happening with that dangerous storm that's moving through now southeastern portions of Jackson Parish. All right, so we have the updated information, and it is showing that we have what we call gate-to-gate shear of above 110 miles per hour. What does that mean? Well, that means that we're dealing with strong wind across the region. Actually, I do need to get another IFB battery, so bear with me. But again, we're dealing with the storm system that is right now producing very strong signs of rotation. So please take this storm very seriously. This is, again, when we talk about gate-to-gate shear, each little pixel box, it can be used to measure speed. And if you have one pixel box with one speed in one direction and another pixel box with another speed in another direction, that leads to strong signs of rotation across our region and in that particular area. And so that's what we are seeing right now, that 111 mile per hour gate-to-gate shear showing strong signs of rotation across our region. So we want you to be ready for that threat. So I want to do another check just to see what's going on with the gate-to-gate shear, just to see if we can get any additional information. But again, we're still showing signs that southeastern corner of Wynn Parish showing signs of very strong rotation across southeastern portions of Jackson Parish. So as we take a look again at what's going on, we want you to take this storm very seriously. I want to put a track back on this system just to show you that, again, we're looking at impacts downstream. If it holds together, places like Cypress could be impacted over the next 20 minutes or so. La Pine by the time we get to 8 a.m. and then Fondale by the time we get to 8:03. But going back to that velocity and looking at the latest warning, it has shrunk in size, but I have a feeling that they will extend this warning more so into Ouachita Parish because, again, we are still showing signs of rotation, and the area of concern is actually across that southeastern portion of Jackson Parish. And again, we're still showing signs of rotation right here. We have the greens, we have the reds coming together. And when we look at the latest velocity, that gate-to-gate shear, that's one thing we're tracking, 111 miles per hour. That's a sign of rotation happening. And so we're looking at that more or less right across that southeastern corner of Jackson Parish. So we'll take a look at the track one more time just to point out what's going on, or actually we'll put the map into motion. The storms have been tracking from southwest to northeast across our region, but they've more or less been training, going over the same areas. So not only are we dealing with a tornado threat at this hour, we're likely dealing with some flash flooding taking place as well. So this is not your time to go out and travel. This is your time to hunker down and stay safe until the threat has passed. And I'm going to ask the control room if they could pop up Abby's computer, her Weather 2 computer and her monitor. Thank you. Great. I'm going to send it over to Abby now to talk a little bit more about what we're dealing with, and even on our radar. Actually, before we go to Abby, if we can pull up the tower cam, I want to show you a shot outside. We're dealing with heavier rain showers now moving through Ouachita Parish. It looks very dismal outside, and again, we're dealing with that dangerous weather. And we have that tornado warning just south of Monroe, covering portions of Jackson Parish, northwestern portions of Caldwell Parish, and southern portions of Ouachita Parish. But I want to send it over to meteorologist Abby Ezell for another update on what we're tracking when it comes to this tornado warning storm. And we actually just had another tornado warning issued across Wind Parish. So the threat for severe weather definitely there this morning. Abby?
Hi, Marcus. Yeah, I've been looking at this second warning. I just saw it pop up in our National Weather Service chat a few minutes ago. They just issued it right now. We've got some areas of rotation in portions of a southern Wind Parish just south of the Atlanta area. Right now, you can see it just north of Montgomery near Louisiana Highway 34. That's continuing to track off towards the north and the east at this time. Where those reds and greens are coming together, that's the area of rotation we're watching. It's just outside of that warning box, but as that continues to track off towards the north and the east, we'll see that stronger storm move into that warning box here in the next couple of minutes. So that is something we are going to continue to keep an eye on, is this new area of rotation in southern portions of Wind Parish. But what I really want to turn your eyes to is this warning that we had from earlier that is in portions of a Jackson Parish now. That is just towards portions of Louisiana Highway 499, just towards the north of that. That's where we're seeing those reds and greens continue to come together, and we're starting to see that storm wrap around and tighten just ever so slightly. And I did want to take a look at our Fort Polk radar because I was seeing some signs of rotation on that one, and also the Shreveport one, which is the one we have up right now. So let's go ahead and turn things over to that. Yes, we can still see those areas of rotation right there where those reds and greens are coming together just north of the Louisiana Highway 499. That's where we're seeing signs of a rotation right now within this storm. So a very dangerous storm is continuing to track off towards the north and the east. So I'm going to go ahead and put a track on this and let you know where exactly this storm is headed. So let's turn things back over to a Doppler 8 radar so we can put a track on that. It is currently moving off towards the north and the east at, let's see here, we've got it moving off towards the north and the east at 45 miles per hour. So we'll go ahead and put a track on this storm. Let's see here. 45 miles per hour off towards the north and the east. We're talking about places like Vixen at 7:46, Bosco 8:02, Buckner at 8:14, and then Alto at 8:22 a.m. If this storm continues to hold together, it possibly could be in the Rayville area by about 8:35 a.m. So be on alert as this strong storm continues to track off towards the north and the east. I'm going to turn things back over to Marcus. Marcus, what are you seeing?
Well, I wanted to go over the warnings that were out there across our region just so people are aware of what the threats are. So at this moment, we're dealing with severe thunderstorm warnings, but we have 2 tornado warnings across our region that are bringing storms that are rotating. We do not have any confirmation of a tornado on the ground. We have not had that yet. But again, we're dealing with 1 tornado warning covering southeastern portions of Jackson Parish, northwestern portions of Caldwell Parish, and southern portions of Ouachita Parish. And then farther to the south, we're dealing with the storm system that is warned, and that also covers much of Wind Parish at this hour. But as we look at that first tornado warning, as we look at the track, again, we're still talking about impacts for places like Cypress within the next 10 minutes. So this is your time now, if you are in Cypress, to make sure you are in the most interior part of your home, away from any windows. This is not the time to go outside and try to see what's happening. This is your time to hunker down until the threat for severe weather has passed. And then as we look farther to the south, again, across much of Wynn Parish now, we have this tornado warning that covers Windfield at this hour. So if you are in Windfield, this is your time also to get to the most interior part of your home to stay as protected as possible because we have this threatening weather moving through. This second tornado warning goes through at least 8:15 a.m. So we have another about 30 minutes or so of this warning, and the storms will continue to track to the north and east. So this warning may be extended. I do want to take a look at some of the velocities just to see what's going on. Again, we're still seeing strong signs of rotation for that storm that's currently now moving across far southeastern portions of Jackson Parish and also now moving into northwestern portions of Caldwell Parish. And it's really this area right here. This is the area where we have the greatest concern. And when we look at things like gate-to-gate shear, again, each of these little pixel boxes can represent wind speed, also wind direction. And when we have one wind going one direction, another wind going another direction, and they're close together, that's a sign of rotation. And that's what we're still seeing across our region. Abby, did you have something?
Yes, they are going to do a downstream tornado warning coming from Ouachita Parish.
Okay. All right, thank you. So we're talking about this storm right here. This is the storm where it's showing signs of rotation. Right now, there's a warning on this, and the National Weather Service will extend that warning into Ouachita Parish. So as we take a look at that warning one more time, again, it covers areas of southern Ouachita Parish right now. But if you are in Monroe, if you are in Richwood, this is your time to prepare now for the storm. You're not under a tornado warning just yet, but the National Weather Service will be extending the warning that is in place across southern Ouachita Parish. And we just had the extension of that warning. I'll turn it over to meteorologist Abby Ezell in one moment, but I do want to take a look at the warning across southern, southwestern portions of Wynn Parish. As we zoom in again, we've been tracking the warning moving into northwestern portions of Caldwell Parish, southern Ouachita Parish, but we are showing signs of rotation with the storm system that is moving through southwestern portions of Wynn Parish. This storm is showing gate-to-gate shear of about 86 miles per hour. So again, we're still seeing signs of rotation with these storms on radar, and that's a sign, that's the precursor to whether or not we actually get a tornado on the ground. So the dangerous weather will be with us, and we'll keep following this threat through the morning. And we have a lot of energy in the atmosphere that will support storms, even rotating storms. So I suspect we'll see more warnings throughout the morning. But I want to send it back over to meteorologist Abby Ezell for another update on the warning that was just extended. Abby?
Okay, Marcus, well, we just got that new warning in, and they did just extend that warning into portions of Ouachita Parish. So I'm going to go ahead and get a time frame on you. Let me go ahead and query this warning to see how long we've got with this warning. Tornado warning until Saturday morning at 8:15 a.m. for Caldwell, Jackson, Ouachita parishes as the storm continues to track off towards the north and the east. So let's go ahead and take a look at what velocity is showing right now. We are still seeing some broad signs of rotation. This is on the very edge of portions of the Shreveport radar at this time, right on the border of Caldwell, Jackson, and Ouachita parishes at this time, moving closer to Louisiana Highway 557 and between 557 and 846. That's where we're beginning to see that sign of rotation, where those reds and greens are coming together right there on the map. That's why we're watching for the potential of a possible tornado as the storm continues to track off towards the north and the east through about 8:15 this morning. But we've got the ingredients favorable, like Marcus mentioned before, that things could get a little bit stronger as we head throughout the rest of the morning. So I wouldn't be surprised if this warning continues even after this 8:15 time frame. So I want to turn things back over towards our warning in Wynn Parish right now. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that velocity. That velocity scan is showing that things are starting to begin to turn, and we are beginning to see that circulation strengthen ever so slightly just towards the west of Atlanta right now, where we see those reds and greens coming together on the map, moving closer to Louisiana Highway 1228 and also Highway 84. If you are located in any of those areas, you'll want to be in your safe place. Like I mentioned before, we likely will have some stronger storms develop today as this line continues to progress off and towards the north and the east. So this is a look at our tornado warning that we do, our tornado watch that we do have active until 1 p.m. today for the entire arc limits, as the threat for severe weather is going to be very likely today as these storms continue to ramp up. So let's go ahead and turn things back over to Marcus to see what he has to say.
All right, well, thank you so much, Abby. And as we talk about, again, the tracks of the storms, we have 2 tornado warnings moving across the region. I want to point out the first one that now extends into southern Washington, really central Ouachita Parish. If you are in places like Monroe, this is your time to get into your safe area, to make sure you put as many walls between you and the outside world. This is not your time to go outside and take a look and try to see what you can see. Again, we're talking about a dangerous storm now pushing into southern Ouachita Parish. It's still impacting northwestern portions of Caldwell Parish. Abby, you had something?
Yeah, I have something. We're about to get another tornado warning for Wynn just south of Sykes, southeast of Sykes.
Okay, thank you. So Sykes, you were close to this initial tornado warning. Now it looks like we'll get another warning for areas right near your area once again. So it's really along the line, the leading edge of this thunderstorm activity that we're dealing with rotation, and that is leading to these tornado warnings. We have another tornado warning, again, that was originally in place across southwestern portions of Wynn Parish. But really, if you're in Wynn Parish, anywhere in Wynn Parish, you really do need to make sure that you keep your guard up for sure. We have had that second additional warning that covers northeastern portions of Wynn Parish. So the threat is with us. If you're in places like Carla, really now you're dealing with the threat in the next 10 minutes, especially Dodson by the time we get to 8:17. The secondary warning across southwestern portions of Wynn Parish is on track to impact Sykes. At the same time, Sykes, you're dealing with that new warning across the region. So as we take a look at some of the circulation that's now pushing into southern Ouachita Parish, it's still showing up across this area. When we look at the gate-to-gate shear, at last check, it was about 82 miles per hour. So a little bit weaker than what we saw earlier. But again, we still have signs of rotation. This storm is rotating, so it is bringing the threat for tornadic weather. Then as we look toward Atlanta, again, if you are in Atlanta or if you're just west of Atlanta, this is your time to make sure you stay indoors. We're still seeing strong signs of rotation with this storm system that's moving through. Again, we have the greens, we have the reds coming together. So this is the area of greatest concern. And if you're west of Atlanta, you're dealing with the threat for this dangerous storm system. And again, we now have 3 tornado warnings across the viewing area. So this is a look at the setup. We have a warning across southern and central portions of Ouachita Parish. We have a warning that extends back into northeastern portions of Wynn Parish. And then we have a tornado warning that covers Winfield. So if you're in Winfield, if you're anywhere, Sykes, for instance, if you're in Monroe, southern Monroe, South Monroe, Richwood, you all need to be on guard. Dangerous weather is moving into the region. And again, we have these warnings out there, and these storms, they are firing up. So we'll have to see how things play out for the rest of the morning. But we're seeing a lot of activity, and the sun is just rising. And on a broader view, we're expecting even more severe weather farther to the east. So while things are active to the west now, if you are in places like Madison Parish or Franklin Parish or even Concordia Parish, you need to keep your guard up because the threat for severe weather will be with you as we head throughout the rest of the morning. But we're talking about multiple storms showing signs of rotation, leading to at least 3 tornado warnings across our viewing area. I do want to take a look not only at the watches that are in place, but what the Futurecast is showing weather-wise. It is not picking up on as much precipitation that is out there right now, but as we still track the forecast going forward, we're still looking at strong to severe storms as we head toward 11 a.m. And then eventually by 1 p.m. we'll see some of the worst weather pushing east. And on the backside of the system, we finally do start to dry out. And we're expecting breezy but comfortable conditions as we head throughout much of the afternoon. So we are stormy now, but we are expecting improvements by the time we get to 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. So hang in there and definitely keep your guard up. I want to send it back to meteorologist Abby Gazelle to talk more about the alerts that we have in the area.
Hey Marcus, like we've been mentioning, we have those 3 tornado warnings out there for portions of the area, but we did just get a severe thunderstorm warning that covers pretty much our entire western half of the arc limits at this time. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. If you're located anywhere in our western parishes, places like Union Parish, as well as Lincoln Parish, Jackson Parish, and Wynn Parish, you're pretty much underneath a severe thunderstorm warning at this time as these strong storms continue to push off towards the north and the east at this time. I did want to take things a little bit further south to start off with. Looking at these warnings, they did just trim this warning in Wynn Parish back a little bit. This rotation is just towards the south of Winfield, so if you are located in Wynn Parish near Winfield, you want to be in your safe place right now as this strong storm continues to push off towards the north and the east at this time, located near Highway 84 at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and put a track on this storm as it is moving into portions of Winfield. This storm is moving at 50 miles per hour off towards the north and the east. So let's go ahead and get a track on this storm as it continues to push off towards the north and the east. So as we do that, about 50 miles per hour off towards the north and east. We've got Winfield at 7:59 a.m. So within the next few minutes, the strong storm will be moving in near your area. So be on alert if you are in Winfield. Sykes at 8:14 a.m. Cotton Plant at 8:28 a.m. And then we've got Clarks at 8:34 a.m. Columbia at 8:40. So if you are located in any of those communities, you want to be on guard as the strong storm continues to impact portions of your area. As we go a little bit further north, we've got this warning just off towards the east of Sykes. We're still seeing some pretty strong signs of rotation with this storm as well. It's on the very edge of the Shreveport radar, but we can still see it on the Fort Polk radar as well. So definitely showing some signs of rotation here. Located right on the border of Caldwell and Wynn parishes at this time, where those reds and greens are coming together near Louisiana Highway 846, just off towards the southwest of that. And then we've got another warning that we've been tracking for a little bit, beginning to move into portions of southern Ouachita, just south of the Balkanville and Richwood areas. This storm continues to track off towards the north and the east, and I believe about 45 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and put a query on that. 50 miles per hour now. It's beginning to move a little bit faster. So I am going to go ahead and put a track on that real quick. 50 miles per hour off towards the north and the east. We're talking about places like Summit at 8:02 a.m., Cobb 8:08, Richwood 8:15, Millhaven at 8:28, and Schwartz at 8:35 a.m. Marcus, do you have any updates on what you're seeing?
Well, I want to take everyone through the warnings that are out there now. I say that again in the control room. Okay, thank you. Just making sure I wasn't missing any information. I want to take you again through the alerts that we have across the region. Not only are we dealing with 3 tornado warnings at this hour, we have severe thunderstorm warnings out there as well. But you'll notice to the west, just west of Ruston, for instance, things are a lot quieter. Really, as this first batch of intense thunderstorms move through, I think we'll start to see some relief afterwards. But these storms haven't been progressing as far east as more or less they've been traveling from southwest to northeast. So this will be a slow moving system. But as we talk about the alerts out there, I do want to talk about this tornado warning that now covers part of the city of Monroe and West Monroe. This is your time to get to your safe area. We're dealing with these alerts out there. We're showing signs of rotation. You probably can hear the thunder from these intense storms from our studio. Again, we're talking about dangerous weather moving through. This first warning across central and northern, or really central and southern portions of Ouachita Parish goes through 8:15. So we have another 20 minutes or so of that warning, but we may see it extended if the storm holds together. Then, as we look at the latest track with that storm system, we're talking about places like Bockenville being impacted as early as 8:10. So we have about 10 minutes or so before we see some of the worst weather reach places like Bockenville and West Monroe, and even places like Richwood. So this is your time to get to your safe area for sure. We want you to be aware. We just had another severe thunderstorm warning issued for Morehouse Parish. We'll talk more about that coming up. In the meantime, as we look farther to the south, we have an additional tornado warning across some of the same areas that were warned not too long ago. This warning with this track with this storm, it'll be with us for places like Bosco by the time we get to 8:25. So the storms, they've been moving about 40, if not 50 miles per hour. So they're moving with a rapid clip. And so we want you to be ready for these storms as they move into our region. And then as we look farther to the south, we're tracking a dangerous storm now impacting places like Carla. This storm is showing signs of rotation. Winfield, you're still in the thick of this tornado warning. So we want you to stay inside, stay indoors, and don't try to go look and see what's happening. Wait till the threat for severe weather has ended. When we look at where the rotation that's triggering this warning across southern and central portions of Ouachita Parish, where that rotation is, we're looking at it now starting to broaden out. The radar is starting to get fairly higher up in the atmosphere, so we may not be seeing some of the lowest levels to see where we have the strongest rotation, but we're still showing signs of rotation. So we want you to take this storm very seriously. I know this part of Ouachita Parish becomes a little more rural, a little more farmland, but again, we want you to keep your guard up. This dangerous storm is moving through, and we want you to stay in your safe area. When we look at the latest gate-to-gate shear, things have adjusted. I think the gate-to-gate shear is a little bit stronger than 13 miles per hour, but we are talking about a storm that has weakened just a touch. Then as we look farther to the south, we're dealing with a stronger storm still moving toward Winfield at this hour. I want to adjust the gate-to-gate shear just to see if we can get a proper reading on the winds and the storms. And again, yeah, we're still dealing with gate-to-gate shear close to 90 miles per hour. So that is a sign that we're dealing with a storm that's still rotating, that's still producing a threat for a tornado. So if you are in Winfield, this storm is pushing in your direction. So this is your time to get, again, if you're probably already indoors, if you're watching this, of course, but we want you to stay away from windows, get into the most interior part of your home. These storms are moving at about 40 to 50 miles per hour. And again, they're producing some very strong wind. Then as we look back to the north and east, the storm system that's now pushing across northeastern portions of Wynn Parish is now pushing into western portions of Caldwell Parish. We're looking at a storm that is still showing signs of rotation. We're still looking at gate-to-gate shear anywhere from 60 to potentially 80 miles per hour. And we're still showing signs of rotation. So we want you to be aware of that threat. I want to take one more look at what's going on generally across the region. We have this dangerous weather continuing to track across the area, but I'll send it over to meteorologist Abby Ezell for another update on what she's seeing on radar.
Okay, well, we are tracking out these 3 tornado warnings we have right now for portions of Caldwell, Jackson, Ouachita, as well as Wynn Parish at this time. I did want to take us a little bit further south. This storm in Wynn Parish is showing better signs of rotation at this time, moving closer to the Winfield area. So if you are near Winfield, you want to be in your safe place right now, as this very strong storm is moving closer to your area at this time. Located near Winfield, we've got this area of rotation where those reds and greens are coming together, beginning to cross portions of Highway 167 at this time. And as it continues to track off towards the north and the east, we possibly could see places like Dodson and even Sykes impacted by this strong storm if it holds together. It is tracking off towards the north and the east at 50 miles per hour. We've still got about 45 minutes left in this warning. This goes until Saturday morning at 8:45 a.m. So let's go ahead and put a track on this to see who could be impacted next. So it's coming off towards the north and the east at 50 miles per hour. We've got Winfield, 8:05. So Winfield, you got about 5 minutes before the storm is on top of you. Ringwood at 8:15, Flat Creek, 8:25 a.m., and then Cotton Plant at 8:39 a.m. Clark's 8:45, and then Columbia at 8:52 a.m. Okay. So we're going to go back up towards the north now, and I did want to put a tracker on this storm, this very strong storm. We're beginning to see a lot of lightning and heavy rain with this storm that is moving into portions of Monroe at this time. We are seeing some signs of rotation ever so slightly right there. The color pattern has changed a little bit, where these blues and greens are coming together near Louisiana Highway 557. That's where we're tracking out some signs of a rotation in southern portions of Ouachita, moving closer to the Richwood area at this time and closer to the city of Monroe. So if you are located in any of those areas, I want you in your safe place. And now, Marcus, what are you seeing?
Well, again, I want to talk about that warning that is covering southern and central portions of Ouachita Parish, because we know a good amount of people live in these areas, especially when we think about West Monroe, Richwood, Bockenville, all the areas in central Ouachita Parish. We want you to be in your safe area now, because we have this dangerous storm that's moving into the area. Now, fortunately, the rotation with that storm has weakened just a bit, but that may also be a sign of where our radar beam is hitting the storm. We are hitting higher in the storm, so we may not be seeing as much in the lower levels of the atmosphere. So we want you to take this warning very seriously. It stays active at least through 8:15 a.m. And then farther downstream, we're dealing with a severe thunderstorm warning. But if this storm starts to spin up once again, if rotation starts to get tighter, that could be a sign that we're dealing with a strengthening storm, a dangerous storm, continuing to move across the area. Farther to the south again, we have this tornado warning that's moving across, or we have a warning that covers northeastern portions of Wynn Parish, stretching into northwestern portions of Caldwell Parish. And then farther south, we're dealing with a tornado warning that covers the city of Winfield. Again, right now, Winfield, you are in the thick of things when it comes to this dangerous storm. Now, I do want to take us to our tower cam, if our control room can pull up that tower cam, just so we can show you what's going on. We're dealing with the wet weather impacting Monroe at this hour. Very stormy weather on the way. It's very dreary, cloudy, windy, stormy. If you're just waking up, again, we're dealing with this severe weather threat, and it is impacting our region right now. It's bringing a lot of impacts to us. So we want you to, again, keep your guard up over the next several hours. Because dangerous weather is moving through. The good news is, by the time we get to about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, the threat for severe weather should be over for the Arklamists. But in the meantime, we're still dealing with that threat, so we want you to keep your guard up. So as we talk about that secondary alert, again, that main alert that covers portions of Ouachita Parish, again, Monroe, we're talking about you potentially being impacted by this dangerous storm within the next 10 minutes, the worst part of the storm. And then farther to the south and west, we're dealing with yet another tornado warning that if that storm holds together, it'll also track into southern and central portions of Ouachita Parish. And then for Winfield, again, we're dealing with this dangerous storm, this tornado-warned storm moving right over the Winfield area right now, bringing a lot of impacts. When we look at the alerts that are out there, again, this is what we're tracking, this area of circulation where we have the change of colors very close together. Again, it's moving closer and closer to places like Richwood. We're still at least 5 to 10 minutes away from that. But again, we want you to take this time now to prepare for this dangerous weather. Then as we look farther to the south, we're looking at a storm system. Again, that rotation is right over just west of Winfield as well. So this is what we're dealing with. We want you to be on guard for that. I believe meteorologist Abby Azell has a little bit more.
Yeah, they're about to do a downstream tornado warning coming for Winfield.
Okay, understood. So the storm that is over Winfield still showing strong signs of rotation. We have not confirmed the tornado, but the National Weather Service will issue another warning downstream. So if you are in places like Sykes, you're dealing with the additional threat of tornadic weather. And these storms, they've been tracking from southwest to north and east. At the same time, most of the activity has been in a line, so these storms have been doing what we call training or traveling over the same areas, and so that's leading to potentially some flooding concerns as well. But we have to keep an eye on some of these individual storms that are developing ahead of this main line. We could see additional warnings issued. And again, the threat for severe weather will continue to track across the region. So just because you're not in a warning now, and let's say you're in Delhi, doesn't mean you won't get a warning as we head throughout the morning. So the threat for severe weather definitely there. We want you to keep your guard up, but I definitely am concerned, not that we're seeing any actual tornado, but we have this warning, tornado warning, covering southern and central portions of Ouachita Parish. Again, people are definitely under the threat when it comes to this severe weather. Now, when we look at the watch that's out there, we have a tornado watch that stays active at least through 1 p.m. This watch will be with us, so the threat for tornadoes definitely there for the rest of the morning. And here's a quick look at the SPC outlook showing the risk for severe weather for today.